Welcome, this is Jensen Vars. In this video we're gonna play the first episode of the Symbaroum game, where our characters, a tattooed, ruined goblin with lots of markings in his body and of course using no shirt at all, has a huge great sword on his back called Goltas. He serves the Lord Embersind of the barbarian tribes of the Odavoya, the one that gets closer to the Ambrian lords of the civilized world. The second character is Roather. He's a changeling. Whenever he feels like he can mutate his skin and transform his shape, not without a cost, as corruption eats his soul. He's traveling with his son, exploring the dangers of being a changeling and the sacrifices that they need to make as they endure life. And last but not least, a sorceress called Hydra. She is a servant of Lord Embersind, as she protects the clan of Embersind family, keep hold of power as they are managing a prosperous tribe these days. The territory of these barbarian tribes expands toward the border of the Davokar forest, some parts even extending into it, as the clan families that join this barbarian tribe expand and grow further with trade with both other barbarian tribes and the Ambrian lords. Not without conflict, there are many families that are jealous and envy or simply dislike such a barbarian plan to become so strong in the southeast of the Davokar forest. Other tribes also are spying, are conspiring and planning for war if this clan of Embersind grows. In this story we have an Ambrian Knight, a man chosen by Queen Corinthia herself to serve the Ambrian lords. He is found dead by councils and shamans and priests of Lord Embersind outside the tribe, but within the clan of Ayoda's territory. That is a big trouble because a knight death in his reign could bring a lot of political pressure, if not wars. Total obliteration. Lord Embersind, very angry, he gathers the best and the most trustable of his forces, including the characters here, to have this situation not uncovered. The Ambrian Knight is hidden somewhere in the chambers of the hall of Lord Embersind, and he asks for everybody's secrecy and trust until we figure out what happened with the Ambrian's death. The knight is called, if I take a look very quickly, he is, let me check my notes, Lord Seraph is his name. He is one of the proteges of Queen Corinthia herself, as we said before. What was he doing there? Nobody knows. Some of the worst rumors in town say he had a lover, probably a witch, as they are attractive, as they are dangerous, and that led him to painful death as part of a sacrifice. The characters then embark, leave the village, not in nice way, as the village people look with suspicious eyes and they are curious about what is going on after this morning's session summoned by the Lord Embersind to analyze this investigation. Sorceress Hydra, she says, I think we should take a look at the ritual area before we dive deep into the territory of the shaman Heirako. It is best if we can sense what happened there. Maybe we can find clues that were unseen by the chief's spies, scouts. Roather, the changeling, says, "That sounds reasonable, but my son is coming with us. He is in safer hands. So I hope you don't mind. But I don't trust my kid roaming around with all the eyes that we have on us. I can help ourselves, guide us in the ritual area. I know this region. This region is a foggy area with these greenish falling balls of snow all the time, or light rain, very annoying with an acid smell. It's a wide steep with very little trees, wide and plains, let's say, with some rocks and certain caves areas. It's quite humid all the time, so swamps are quite common, and dangers are lurking in the dark. Goltas is preparing his large sword. He says, "When you are ready, I am ready. I'm going to make sure none of these witches get even close to us." They begin towards the east of the village, and getting out of its palisade, the guards of the chief opens the doors. They salute, knowing in which dangers they might be going, and wishes the party the best of journeys. With that said, I'm going to roll in the first scene prompt to see what's outside us. That's a 1 and an 8. We've got an unexpected complication. Complication is certain intel was wrong. Alright, what intel do we have? When the characters traverse after a few hours the steeps towards the east to find and explore the rituals area, they find out that it wasn't a ritual as the scouts described, with skulls and dead animals as they originally said, but it's rather, let me describe this with an oracle check, 8 and a 3, it's commonly abandoned. It's rather a complex of small huts, a small, very very small village is where the ritual is, not exactly in the wilderness. Whether this is a matter of interpretation or the scouts were just misinformed, it's up to be known. There is a village, desolate and completely abandoned, as they go through a path, and eventually they reach the area where the ritual was performed. There's a large pillar, a round ring of dead animals, bones, and a complete silence in it. In the location of the ritual, I'm going to use the plot discoveries from Game Unfolding Machine to figure out what is there to be learned. I roll a clue type first. That's a 3. There is an official documents or messages. As the characters explore the ritual area, they will find a stone in which text is carved. Are the symbols readable? Are they written in common form? No, they are not. So these are written in very strange runes, and they are illegible for our characters. These stones have been carved. Are they carved with magic or with actual stone carving techniques? 6 stands for Yes, they are carved with magic, of course. And the runes, the carvings in the stone are not really even legible if they aren't enlightened. Hydra approaches the stones. I'm gonna roll a scene check in case anything happens at this time. She wants to take a further dive deep into these runes. 5 for a scene check is to add hope or relief. Fortunately, the carvings seem to have a light shadow in them. Hydra can sense. That means they are like very reactive to essence of magic. Let's take a look at the characters sheet of Hydra to see what she could do. So if we take a look at Hydra, she's got sorcery, ritualist, and she's got some power spells that she could do. So what Hydra is gonna do is going to roll a resolute to see if she can power up, lit up these runes to be able to read its markings. It's a d20, on a 15 or less, she's gonna be successful. 13, that's a success. So Hydra concentrates on the runes and makes her lit. Do they cause corruption? Because nothing comes for free in this world. That's a 2 and a 5, it's a no. So fortunately these runes are very reactive to magic, as we were saying, and Hydra can light them up. As they light them up, however, the runes are still to be interpreted. Some markings in the rune stones light up with a bluish color. Is there any sort of lore in Symbaroum that we can see? I think if you're talking about runes, Goltas the rune goblin could figure out something. He isn't the smartest, but there is a small chance these runes are familiar to him, perhaps even written in the old goblin language. He's going to approach these runes and try to interpret them. Are they readable for Goltas? That's a 1. Don't know. No. And he doesn't know. So he doesn't make up sense of this. It even could be goblin runes, but he never seen anything like this before. So we need to figure out a way of reading these runes. The question is how. We might need to find someone who knows them. So the characters are going to talk. What do you think? Says Roather the changeling. Maybe there's someone here around alive who can understand this old language. Hydra says, maybe, but by the desolate of this village, I hardly think we're gonna sense anyone or find anyone alive. Goltas will ask if such ritual is performed in this place, it's already beyond doom. But we can still look. Beware, however, things aren't exactly predictable around here. Hydra is gonna sense any presence of light and shadow around them, any sort of life sense. So she's going to roll Vigilant. On a 10 or less, she might find any trace of shadow. That's a 2, so the answer is yes. So I'm going to roll a scene prompt to see what she feels or senses. That's a 6. 6 stands for relevant actor who does something, and 8 in the actors is to choose somebody to act. So Hydra is going to concentrate on her surroundings, try to sense any presence in light, and she points to one specific place in this village. Let's generate a location by its purpose. That's a 5. A research study. One of the village buildings here is a burned down, let's say, building where it's made of stones and a bit of wood that's already burned out, and apparently there are certain books or the old scrolls coming out of it, so it's probably some sort of library or burned store. Most of it's damaged and unrecoverable, but Hydra is sensing something in this direction. Roather, the changeling, is going to approach this building and he's going to check if there's anyone in there. He takes very care of going stealthily, so first I'm gonna see how stealthy he is by rolling his discreet. 12 or less is a success. That's a 12. So he manages to be very quiet as the others stay back in the ritual area. They should be noticed already if anyone is watching, but at least in the direction of this old damaged library he approaches very, very carefully. Is there anything or anyone? Is a matter of a scene prompt, I would say. 2 and a 6. 2 is a catalyst. 6, the catalyst is a current location event, so something happens in the library as he approaches. The question is what? 3 and a 3, conflicting result is what the oracles of what says. That doesn't tell me much, so I am going to generate a scene design with the game evaluation. 20. There are moving objects. 13. Something to perceive or pay attention to. And 1 is there is someone making watch. As Roather approaches very carefully this old library, it is dark inside, the door is open. The fog from the outside prevents him from looking at it very properly, so he, from the side of this rocks, this ruined building, looks inside and he sees a stair going down. In this stair of darkness, he can perceive that something is moving in the air inside. He looks back and calls the others. As the others come carefully looking, they can all see that inside there's no less but floating scrolls. All of these scrolls have inscribed runes in the same language of the stone outside. And Roather asks, can you see the same thing as I do? And yes, everybody sees the same as he does. Is this something that's typically running and typically moving around like this? or Hydra did you activate it with your sense? Let's see if Hydra can answer this. Is this something that could have been activated by Hydra? 1 and 4 doesn't know. It's impossible for me to tell. If it's running, if it's moving on its own like this at all times, it's a powerful presence. And if I did, I hope for the best. They come down the stairs and there is something to perceive, so we're gonna see what do we learn as a finding. Let's get another clue type and a useful finding. 6 on the clue type, there is a dead body corpse, and 14 planning next enemy movement, plans or actions. So, as we go down the stairs, there is a dead being. We need to check who is that with totem pole machine. 9 is a powerful person. Is it a knight? Is it like an Ambrian Knight? We know the Ambrian Knight is dead, right? And his body is supposedly back with the chieftain. But what if there's a remnant of it? 3 is no, so it's not a knight, it's someone else who's powerful. We need to describe a new character by the impression it gives. That's an 8. Flexible, fast, sneaky. We see a dead body that resembles to what is a ghoul. Dead or undead beast. Is it moving? 3 and 8, no. And no, and it can't, because it seemed to be impaled against the wall of the stairs that go down. We approach the undead and try to figure out if it's really dead. Does it move as we approach? 9 is a yes. And so, as the characters very carefully approach the ghoul, the thing moves up its head and starts screaming as if it had any pain. It doesn't look like it's looking at the characters itself, it's rather moving and shaking its head in all directions as if it's trying to move its body, but failing in the attempt. What full sorcery is this? Is a good question. To what happens next? I'm getting for another scene prompt. We get a 3 and a 9, so it's a challenge, something to crack or unlock. As the characters look forward, there is a door. The door is made of stone, seems very heavy, and it seems to be shut off. The stairs going down, however, need to go through this dead ghoul who's impaled to the wall, and it's quite uncomfortable to go past it. So what's going to happen is that Roather is going to kill this ghoul, so it stops screaming and calling attention. Weapons wise, he's got a throwing knife, so Roather is going to take his throwing knife and aim at the beast's head. I'm not going to roll for the attack because the thing is impaled and stuck to the wall. So I'm gonna just check if anything happens when it's stabbed. 8 proceeds as expected, so the knife perforates the ghoul's dead head and it shuts off back in silence. That will make it. At least we can hear our own footsteps at a time. They look around and go down the stairs further until they find this door, and they carefully try to push it open, but it doesn't open. They look around. Does it seem to have any keyholes? Or what's the mechanism? Let's see if it has keyhole. That's a 3 and a 5, so it's no keyholes whatsoever. So there's another way to open it. Hydra looks if it has any runes or marking or magical markings that she could magically turn on. Let's say yes, unless. So yes, it has markings, unless these markings are shut down. She's going to try to magically trigger this door. Let's see if she succeeds. We need the characters Hydra here to roll for Resolute. That's a success. So I'm gonna check now if anything happens as she tries to project her willpower into this door. That's a 10, so things proceed as expected. She lightens up without knowing much about what is she achieving exactly, but the door lightens up with the same rune markings. And Roather has been paying attention to these runes to see if there's any similarity to them. And his son is with him. He's protecting him on the back. Is there any? It's like these runes are like what else do they tell us? Like do they tell anything else? Do they have any signs of being similar to each other? Is there anything we can think of? So I'm gonna check for a cunning roll from Roather's character sheet. If I can't find its sheet at all. Oh, here it is. And see if we can reveal anything out of this. I think this is hard, so it's gonna be a -2 roll. That's still a very good cunning result. So is there anything that Roather can figure out from these runes? So I'm gonna use and describe an item. See, what do they tell us? 9 is mostly and 10 is static. So what we see is that there is a lot of similarities between the runes of the stone outside in the ritual area and the rune markings in this door. So there's actually a limited amount of symbols. It's not that it's all gibberish, it's actually using over and over the same shapes. This is what Roather noticed at this time, and there's a similarity, so they say the same thing in the ritual than here. Roather says, maybe this isn't impossible to crack and decipher what these runes mean. These images look a lot alike. If you can figure one of two of them, we can't find any explanations of what they could mean or who they invoke. Maybe we can learn something. As they open doors eventually, very slowly, the cracking stone against stone, it goes in a new area. I'll try and describe it very quickly. 6 and a 7, it's legally secure. So apparently this is an archive and there aren't any other doors. There's very little light. The Hydra turns on a light with her staff to project a little bit of a low light sight around this archive, and we're going to go for a scene point. That's a 10 and a 6. 10 is to retire a plot node, 6 is to retire a story trouble. I need another detail to see which story trouble. 8 stands for Tribesmen. So, as we go inside in the archive, there are 2 resemblance of men. Are they alive? The question. 10 and 4, hard to say. 2 static and tribesmen. They are carrying some weapons, and they are, however, standing against the wall in a suspended mode. The characters, Roather says hello, and he hears us. Do they respond? I guess it's even, so that's a 7 and a 1, so yes, they respond, possibly. So yes, possible. If they respond, it's yes. They look like to be responding, but not in words. They look up and make gibberish noises and speak in a strange language. What do they say, I wonder? Is there any chance anyone could understand this? I guess it's unlikely. 6 and a 4, or unlikely, it's a no. So nobody in the party can understand them. Do they move? No. 4, no. Possibly not. So they don't move, they stand just where they are. And like, I don't know if they are ethereal, like, are they real at all? Are they like, do they look like real? 3 and a 10, it's no, of course not. So they seem to be projections that everybody can see here. They're projections of Tribesmen trying to say something that we don't understand. From here, I'm gonna make... What do we do? What do characters do? I just got bent wheel. It's awful. Power she's got. Roather cannot do much. Goltas also cannot do much in here. So Hydra is gonna approach the 2 projections of Tribesmen that are from a time from the before, and she's going to talk to them first. can you speak our common language, our common tongue? And we say they're speaking gibberish, so I won't change that. They seem that they don't speak the common tongue. Hydra is going to try and bend their will. The bend will is indeed a powerful spell, so let's going to take a look at it in the book. Mystical powers. Bend will, here it is. It's a material ring, silver ring. Free will is an illusion, but the power of the will is unmistakable. The mystic has come to understand these seemingly contradictory principles and can use the insights to control the will of other creatures. As a novice, the mystic can seize control of a creature's will by making a successful resolute test. Control is considered active until the mystic breaks concentration or fails. The controlled creature can only perform one action each turn and cannot use any active abilities or powers while affected. So I guess it's more on the combat side, but she's trying to bend their will to see if they can try to communicate in any other forms. That is going to make it challenging, of course, but still worth a try. So her resolute is 15. It's penalized by their resolute, which is probably -2. So it's a 13 or less to be able to bend this tribesman will. That's a 19, that's a no, she's failing. So Hydra is concentrating to project herself into the mind of these tribesmen's projection to see if she can control them, but they are out of this plane. They are out of her reach. I'm gonna roll a Symbaroum to see what happens after her failed attempt. There's an 8 and a 2. So hinder an active thread. The 2 on threads is the death of the knight. So as she attempts to project her will in these tribesmen that are projection spirits of all people, they start to move around, like projecting a scene that's happening there, and eventually a knight projection appears, and it is that of the very Ambrian Knight we're looking for to explain his death. A projection of this knight appears. He takes his sword, stabs one of the tribesmen. With the movement of removing his sword from stabbing, he slashes into the throat of the other tribesman. He kills both, and then he turns around his sword and stabs himself. Then he dies and all of the projections disappear. What that means is an open to a mystery. With this disappearance, the whole energy of the place turns off, shut down. Hydra says, what witchery does that mean? And Goltas, who is an impatient goblin, is gonna say, I cannot stand this anymore. I'm sick of this sorcery. It's meaningless to us. What is it trying to tell us? The knight decided to kill himself and there was no ritual at all. He was just blamed for something. and Roather, the changeling, is gonna say. I think this is an analogy. The whole place is cursed. Something was going on around Lord Seraph. I believe he was getting involved in dark magic he shouldn't be dealing with. But that's beyond our understanding. Let's continue exploring the rest of the place. So with that, we're going to conclude this episode 1. It was hard, it's a mystery approach, of course. We've got a lot of unknowns, the locations, the area, what is there, what happened to the night, what is the rituals meaning. And fortunately, I think Game Unfolding Machine helped me figure out with certain scenes, but it's definitely not an easy game to be so open-ended without really an expectation of what's going on here. But fortunately we came to a village that was abandoned with some runes in it that talk of a remnant power and a magically activated archive in a ruin that had a projection of some sort or is having certain spirits trying to communicate in something. The question is why it's happening now and as the characters approach. Could it be related to Goltas runes or to Hydra's magic presence? We cannot know. I also need to figure out how Symbaroum deals with magic and what are the limits of the magical mystic characters. I feel that every power are very combat oriented, unfortunately, so it's not a system that gives me a lot of narrative flexibility to do things out of battle. I wish there were some sort of lore or knowledge connections. I need to make that up. I'm gonna have to reread the book to see if there is more about how magic works. I'm gonna explore that before the next episode. I hope you liked it and looking forward to the next episode. I wonder what happens in this tribe. As you've seen, I've been using Plot Unfolding Machine to generate scene prompts and Game Unfolding Machine to expand on their content. So I think they play together very well. With that said, thank you and until the next video. Bye bye.